Everyone, I'm Freya or Freylise and welcome to my YouTube channel. So a little bit about me before we get into my first video. I've been wanting to start a YouTube channel for a very long time. I tried in the summer when I was obviously off school. I had a lot more time. I was forcing it and it just didn't work. I'm on winter break. I have a lot of time, and yesterday I was just like, I should do this. Here I am, I guess. This is definitely a move out of boredom. I'm reading a lot. I'm really bored. It's the holidays. It's the new year, well, almost the new year, and I just felt like I should start over. I've been reading for almost 2 years now. I mean, obviously I've been reading my entire life. I've gone through phases in my reading too, but it really started in March of 2020. A friend gave me a Kindle over the pandemic, and I was just addicted. I still am. I feel like I've read better books this year, but probably I read more last year. Yeah, so I started out in dystopian fiction. That was my go-to in summer of 2020, and then I went to sweet YA romance, and it's almost embarrassing how quickly I realized that was not for me, and I went straight to the darks. Yeah, now I reside in the realm of dark romance, but not fantasy. I kind of said that wrong, because I don't actually like fantasy. My best friend has been trying to get me into it. I don't know where that's gonna go, but fantasy is just not really my thing. I've done a little paranormal, but other than that, I just stick to real life. For my first video on this channel, I would start off with a reading wrap-up of December 2021. I wouldn't quite say this has been my best reading year of the year. October was fantastic. I read like over 35 books. So since I read a lot and I'm a forgetful bitch, we are going to pull up my Goodreads and see what I read, because I don't remember. But yeah, if you want to follow me on Goodreads, it's at Freylise, same as my YouTube name and my Instagram name. I update it pretty frequently. I see a lot of booktubers don't update their Goodreads a lot, but I'm kind of addicted to Goodreads, so I update it quite frequently. So we'll start off with the first book I read in December. I read There Is No Devil by Sophie Lark, which is the conclusion of the something duet. It's a duet, basically, and I read There Are No Saints when it first came out in October. Yeah, it was great, and so this is the second book in the duet, so as soon as that came out, I jumped on that, made sure I was prepared for it, and it was a little bit disappointing. In the first book, we see Mara and Cole's development of their relationship, and in the second one, all we really see is a bit more into their past, and then their day-to-day life. I was expecting a little more like drama. Like, we're running from Cole, who's the hero in the story, his enemy who wants to kill Mara. I thought we would be like trying to evade him the entire time, but the only stuff that really happened was in the last 10%, and I was a little bored, unfortunately. I rated this a 3.75 star because I love the characters. That was basically all. And then after that, I kind of went back into a reading slump, which sucks, but I finished a short story, Christmas Shake-Up by Leah Jenkins. But this is actually something my friend published, so I wanted to read it to support her, but I was also in the mood for a bit of a Christmassy novella. It's fully delivered. It is sweet romance. Not quite sweet. I wouldn't classify it as YA. Borderline YA, but it's not dark romance. But I went into this book knowing that. I actually was super surprised by it because I really enjoyed it, and I wasn't expecting that from something that was not dark romance. But yeah, it's a really cute holiday novella. It gave me all the feels of your hometown or a small town during Christmas time. So that last one was a 4-star read for me, but this one was a 5-star read. On the 5th of December, I read Credence by Penelope Douglas, and I actually wanted to read this back in September when it was like foggy and the rain was coming, but I didn't get to it, and I don't know why the fuck I didn't, because this was awesome. I really enjoyed this. It's extremely taboo. People are like, oh, she like gets with her uncle and shit. That's not her uncle. Like, y'all, this is her step uncle. They're not blood related. She never even knew them growing up. So it didn't feel as taboo to me as I'm sure it did for a lot of other people, because I could very clearly make that distinction. This gave all the vibes of snowy, holiday, wintry, well, maybe not holiday, but very wintry vibes, and I was so happy with this book. I wish I read it a lot sooner. I don't know why it took me so long. So I rated this one 5 stars. A little break for Mr. Floppy Ears here who wanted some attention. So after I read Credence by Penelope Douglas, I read Little Dove by Lila Frost. I'll be honest, I woke up in the mood for just something quick, something spicy. and I was not sure if I wanted to read this book. I didn't really have it on my TBR, but I knew of it, and this was the first book that came to mind, so I just read it. It was good. It was a 3-star read for me. I found it interesting. I loved their dynamic and their relationship, but I wasn't too intrigued by his, like, business part of it. Maximos runs a bunch of hotels, and I wasn't really intrigued by it, and we saw a bit too much of it for my liking. I got kind of bored, but loved their dynamic, loved their relationship, like I said, so it's a 3-star read for me. Next up, I read Even If It Hurts by Marnie Mann, and this, I knew going into this it was going to be super emotional. I've had it on my, if you want to call it a TBR, you can call it a TBR, but my, like, I know of this book list for a while, and I read this via audiobook on Scribd, and it was probably the perfect way to read it for me. More to Mary first recommended this for me, and I was like, oh, she was in an emotional recommendation video, and I was, in that moment, I was going through an emotional book time. Like, I needed some emotional books, and so I put this on my list. I just got to it now. It actually, I think it just came to Scribd recently, or I just found it recently. But either way, I really enjoyed it. I didn't love the 2 male characters. It is a love triangle, and I didn't really feel connected to either of them. Like, both of them were super perfect. It was hard to choose for her, definitely. It's not a reverse harem, but I didn't have a preference. I don't know, I was just a little like, with either of them. I rated this one 3 stars. Next up is a really popular trilogy that I was super excited going into. I had some high hopes for it. This is Flock by Kate Stewart, and I was kind of expecting it to be like Credence, by Penelope Douglas, and I was super excited because I loved it, just finished reading it. I was like, oh, let's go to this one next. And I'm so sad to say I was incredibly let down by this book. It was probably just me. I'm gonna be honest, it was just me, because I know a lot of people that love this, even though they might find it a little weird at times, but I did not like it. I DNF'd at 50%, and while I might come back to it, I'll probably come back to it. It just will have to be something I push myself to get through. I enjoyed Cecilia as a character. Sean or Scene, dude was not, maybe he triggered me. I feel like he triggered me because I just could not enjoy his character, and it didn't blend for me, but I'll probably come back to it. We'll see. Next up, I read the When Rivals Play series by B.B. Reed. This is a 5-book series by her, and I've read stuff from her before. I love her. The way she writes is a little hard to understand for me, so I can't rapidly consume all of her books, but when I was reading Lilac, I think, back in April or so, I put this on my list, and I was like, oh, I should read this. We're gonna call it a TBR. Let's just call it a TBR. Let's call it what it is. I put this on my TBR, but I was not a fan of the covers. So when she changed the covers, I was like, oh, we're diving straight into this. So I first read The Pierre and the Puppet, and I enjoyed it. I didn't love the 2 characters. I thought, yeah, For and Ever, that's their names, were just mediocre characters. I didn't have any immediate attachment to them, but I enjoyed following their story. It's a step-sibling romance, and those feel a little cliche to me sometimes, so this wasn't my favorite of the series. Next, I read The Moth and the Flame by B.B. Reed, and I'm pretty sure this one was my favorite of the series. It's childhood friends to lovers. It's pretty toxic, and I loved both of the characters. I don't know what it is about the name Ren, but that just doesn't blend with me, so I didn't love that part of the book, but I loved our heroine and their story. It was a bit thicker than the other book, but it was a great read and an awesome part of the series. Then I read a quick novella in between then about For and Ever, and it was okay. I didn't really think it was essential to the plot. I think it was just like a peek of where For and Ever are now, and it was okay. Then I read The Punk and the Plaything, which is about a couple that have been skirting around each other for the entire series, so I was really anticipating this one, and it didn't disappoint. It wasn't my favorite, but it was a great read. I did think they kind of left their conflict a little too quickly. There's a really great spicy scene in here. I really enjoyed that, but yeah, it was a great addition to the series of how he was pining after her, like, the entire series and the entire book, but it was not my favorite. By then, we were at the 13th of December. I love this book, I love this series, and I was so excited for Even If We Fight. So I didn't reread the entire thing. I was a little behind because I just finished the When Rivals Play series, so I just read the last like 100 pages, which actually really refreshed me, so it was great timing for the next book that I read on the 14th, as soon as it came out, which is Even If We Fight by Brianna Jean. And this is the conclusion to Phoenix and Judah's story, and I loved it. It was definitely what I was expecting. I was not let down by it, and this is probably my favorite trilogy ever at the moment. There's a few up there, but this one just, I love it. Going to be getting the paperback of it, obviously, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was hoping for a little bit more toxicness from Judah, but I understand that if we would have gotten more, a lot of people would have seen him as unredeemable, because he's hurt in the first. Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing his relationship with his therapist, him getting better, and I just thought he became a truly healthy and healing person, and it was awesome to see. I'm just gonna jump in quick to say, please don't judge me by these 2 books that I have on my shelf. Well, actually, no, you can judge me because these books are great, but don't judge the fact that I only have 2 books, okay? We're getting more. I have a bunch coming for my birthday, but I made a pledge to myself to try and find recycled books and not buy brand new from Amazon, or not pay with my money and receive them as like gifts via gift card or a friend buying it from me or something. So my birthday's coming up and I'm gonna get a lot of new ones, so don't judge me, okay? After that, I was starting the 5th book in the When Rivals Play series, but I was in town and there was too much stuff going on, so I read 2 quick novellas in one day, in a few hours in town. I read Dipped in Holly by Dana Isserly, which it was a great spicy read for the holidays. Novellas are never a 5-star read for me, just because I want to see more of the plot and more of the characters, dive deeper into said character. But obviously going into this one, I wasn't going to judge it upon the fact that novellas aren't really my thing, even though I do enjoy reading them, and sometimes I'm just in the mood for it, but I really enjoyed this one. I love the female body positivity in this and the quick spice, so it was a 3-star read for me. And I read On the 13th Floor by Lee. I'm not even going to say her name because I don't want to butcher it. It starts with a J. And this was another quick spicy read. It was between a boss and his co-worker. Dual perspective, of course, because that's my favorite. And yeah, it was a great quick spicy read, perfect for the holidays. Just what I was looking for. Then I finished the When Rivals Play series by B.B. Reed, and this one is probably my 2nd favorite book of the series. Great relationship that was built up through the entire series. It's second chance with a few plot twists thrown in there. I love Vaughn. He's definitely a tortured hero. I love Tyra as well. I think she's a really strong heroine, and I love seeing their story. I also really love seeing the interracial aspect of this relationship. It's not every day you come across that in the romance world, so I loved seeing the conclusion of this story as well. It's not my favorite by B.B. Reed, I'll be honest. I loved her other series, but it's definitely a great read and I recommend it. After that, I read Unsettled by A.J. Wolf. I believe this is her 2nd pen name. I think it was published under a different one as well, but this was a mindfuck. It was crazy, and it sparked a little phase for me of psychological thrillers or romantic suspense, but yeah. I'm not going to say much about it because it's going to spoil it, but the entire time I was like, what the fuck is happening? I couldn't wrap my head around it. The ending was perplexing, and I was like, huh? But it's a really quick read. It's spicy, but you're left like, huh? The entire book. So if you want to read something confusing, read this one. After that, I read Vipers and Vertuzos, which I was really looking forward to because I love a good rock star romance, but this unfortunately was pretty disappointing. It felt like the stalker element to it was just a few things thrown in that did not fit together. I didn't see Aiden as a stalker in the slightest, and I don't even know where that came from. I thought Riley was a really strong character. I thought she went through a lot, but I just didn't quite understand her actions at times, so this one was a 2-star read for me. Next, I read All Things Burn by Jodie Slaughter, and this one, I don't even know where I found it, honestly. It just popped up, I guess, and so I read it. It's kind of quick, so it was an easy read, but this is about a Black woman who has a stalker. So she's coached by her cousin to hire a hitman, and they fall in love. I don't normally go for romance books that are marketed by their race or their ethnicity. Sometimes that's the only way you can find some diversity in these books, but it was a tad boring at times. I get that he was trying conversations or the connection to be over, but I was a little bored at times. Then I read Lotus by Jennifer Hartman, and I love this. I love a good friends to lovers. This is childhood friends to strangers to lovers, but strangers because our hero was captured when they were about 8, and he only comes back when they're like 19. And so when he comes back, he's slowly reintroducing himself to society, and she's heartbroken because he doesn't know how to have a connection. I love this book. I love both characters. I love their dynamic together. I especially loved our hero. He was very tortured and healing, and I just wanted to give him a hug every single part of the book. So this was a 4.75 star read for me because I did want a little bit more darkness in it. It had a lot of opportunity for that, but it didn't quite give that. But I enjoyed it anyway. Then off of some random YouTube recommendation in a comment, I read Born Darkly, or From the Darkly Madly Duet, I think it's called, by Trisha Wolfe. And so the first book is between a therapist and her criminal client. And it was crazy. Their banter is 100 in this book, just because in their therapy sessions they're going back and forth, but he's trying to therapize her and she's like, I'm the therapist. And it was pretty cool to see that. A lot of this was really mind twisting again. Like I said, I went through a mind twisting phase here, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, even if I was confused like 70-80% of the time. The second book was great too. They kind of go like all rogue and dark and go on a killing hunt, and it's like, what is happening? Grayson is a great hero, and I know a lot of people won't think that because he does some pretty unforgivable stuff. I also didn't understand, but I got that she was happy in the end, so it was a great story. Then I read the first 3 books in the Broken Bond series. I think this is 7 books in total, and it's a few like series smushed together. So I read the first 3, which is With Visions of Red, book 1, 2, and 3, which I thought was a little like basic. I thought she could have named them different, had different covers. This was a great quick series. All of Trisha Wolfe's books are kind of like under 300 pages. I really enjoyed them. It's between a FBI agent and somebody she meets in a special club. This one, actually, she does not have a relationship with the serial killer or the unsub, which I learned. I didn't know what an unsub was until I read FBI stuff. So it's not actually a serial killer romance. Then I read the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey, which I just realized actually is Stabby. I didn't even know that. I don't know how I didn't know that, but it makes so much sense now, and it's an awesome pen name. It actually has a few pen names. I believe the other one is Christy something. That's her most popular one, but I love the series. This was awesome. It was a book. It was a series of 5 short novellas that were just captivating, kept me on the edge of my seat, and I was like, oh my god, the entire time. So this is about the relationship between Logan, who is an FBI agent, and a serial killer, but the roles are switched. The guy is not the serial killer, the girl is the serial killer. And they actually start dating from bumping into each other in a coffee shop, which I'm not actually sure if she planned that or not, but yeah, they bump into each other in a coffee shop. They have a romance from there on, and in the 4th book, he finds out she's a serial killer, and it's like, yeah, this is an incredibly dark book. We don't get to see all the aspects of the darkness in it, but just what she has experienced. This is probably the darkest past of a character I've ever read. 5-star read in the end for me, and I'll probably think about this for a very long time. After that, I read her Vigilante by Lillian Lark, and this was another series. I loved it. She's an FBI agent in this one. Oh, I might have just spoiled something for you there. I might have just spoiled something. I'm going to take that back. No, it has 3 perspectives, but I wouldn't classify it as a love triangle, and it was really confusing the entire time, or about until 50%. I was like, who the hell is she going to end up with? But it all makes sense in the end, and the first 50% I did not love, but the end of it was like, oh, so I gave this one 3.75 stars, I guess. Then I read 2 pretty similar books. I read The Initiation by Nikki Sloan, which actually started at the very beginning of... No, I think I started in like December 20th or something, right before Christmas. And it was an audiobook, and it took me forever to get through it. I don't read that many audiobooks, but when I'm busy with my business and I have time to just work and have it on my headphones, I do. depending on the book, if I can find a good book. I didn't really enjoy this. I kind of found it weird, and McAllister, the one y'all are blushing and gushing over, is a creep. He's a creep. I hate this dude, and I don't think I'm going to continue in the series, especially when I realized how old this dude is. Like, how did y'all, yeah, I didn't really enjoy the mythology that was kind of, like, forced into this. I found it pretty corny. The spicy scene, the smut was great, I guess. A little weird, but not kinky, so it was weird. This book, I just don't think it was for me. And then I read Derision by Trisha Wolfe. I'm gonna butcher all these fucking words, guys. I'm sorry, but this was the standalone at the end of the Broken Bond series. I'm not quite sure if it's called that, but the first 3 books that I read the week before I read this one, then I finished the standalone at the end of the series because I just wasn't too interested in the ones in between, and I wasn't gonna waste my time, honestly. Even though they probably would have been decent books. I wasn't feeling very captivated by the characters that were in the middle books, so I just moved on to this one. Great standalone. It's between two lawyers at a law firm. One's the boss. It's a coworker relationship again. One's the boss, or he's the boss, double entendre, and she's his employee. And then when they enter a relationship, she's like the almost boss. It was a little confusing. I feel like if I read the books 3 to 6, I probably would have understood a lot more of the plot. So I wasn't going to judge it or rate it based upon that. Obviously, I knew that going into it, right? So I enjoyed the story. Today, we are on the 31st of the month. I started reading Ruined Castles by Amo Jones, and I was so excited when she announced that she was going to have a surprise release, but I was not hoping for this one. I loved her Elite Kings Club. Like, I loved it, and it's coming in paperback soon. But Bishop and Madison were just not my fave. And then Madison's bad decisions throughout the entire series, I just wanted to punch her. Honestly, I'm just grateful for any Amo Jones book, I'll be honest. But I had a busy day today, so I haven't started it yet. I know I'm gonna love it. Probably gonna rate it 5 stars, even if I fucking hate Madison and find Bishop a little weird, but loyal. I love how he's loyal. I'm still gonna read it. I'm excited the most, though, to see the other characters from the series, if I'm honest. But I'm still gonna read it, still know I'm gonna love it, and I'm very excited for her next release. So thank you so much for coming with me along the journey of all of the books that I've read this month. I hope I read some books that interest you guys. I would love to hear if you've read any of these or what you think of them in the comments. And I just really appreciate you watching this video. Subscribe if you'd like to see more, because I'm hoping after I went through that like thriller, psychological, suspense, romance, I don't know what you call it, little stint there. I have a few more that I have lined up to read after Ruined Castles, and then I'm probably going to do a recommendation video for that. I struggled to find some, and so I want to help others that are looking for that, but I also want you guys to give some to me in the comments. And stay tuned for my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!